Oliver Kylington had one heck of a comeback this year, and many are wondering if it's going to continue with the Calgary Flames.
You're Locked On Flames, your daily podcast on the Calgary Flames. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Locked On Flames. As always, I'm your host, Jess Belmosto, and thank you so much for joining me today. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Today, we're going to be talking about Oliver Kylington and his career up until now. He's 27 years old and reaching UFA status, and this could be an interesting summer for him. Most teams would love a good puck mover, penalty killer, and solid defenseman like him. So we're gonna take a look at him and see what this next contract might look like as well. But make sure you subscribe to Locked On Flames wherever you're getting your podcasts, as well as YouTube. We are here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week. Your team every day. Obviously, with Oliver Kylington, we're looking at a few different aspects, right? You're looking at second or third pairing, probably your fourth or fifth defenseman, I would say, in your lineup, depending on the night. I think that he's pretty solid. I mean, you could probably get him in your top four with the right partner. He had an excellent 2021-2022 season, just like everyone else on the team, but it felt so right for him to emerge at that time. Him and Chris Tanev were just absolutely phenomenal together through the regular season. And then the postseason was a little rough for Chris Tanev because he was being held together by like a piece of dental floss, but things happen, right? And then during the summer, Kylington was placed into I believe it was the Players Assistance Program, and he missed the entire 2022-2023 season due to mental health issues. And I think it is very brave of Kylington to come out and talk about his struggles with his demons and whatnot, because it's something that has a lot of stigma around it, especially in men. So it's important to really focus on the positive here, that, it's okay to not be okay and to get the help that you need. And, he did suffer a setback. He was supposed to be ready. I use that very lightly because this is not an injury. This is, your mental state. Things were looking like he was set to prepare and set to be ready to start the 2023-2024 season opening night, but he faced a setback and he ended up missing a little bit of more time. So he went 20 months without playing professional hockey. He had his conditioning stint with the Wranglers, went pretty well, and then he came back in February for the Flames. Of course, there was an adjustment period. You can't throw anyone into the mix of things, into the thick of it, when you've missed 20 months of professional hockey. You're playing at a different level. You will never be able to replicate the intensity of a game in practice. That's the truth. And we've talked a lot about that on this podcast in previous seasons, but it was so nice to see him back. You obviously get the fun, smiley Oliver Kylington in the media availabilities, and someone that is very candid about his performance and, what he can do better. But he also plays hockey pretty well too. I know that might come to a surprise to probably none of you, but he is a skilled defenseman. I think that he is someone that most teams would desire to have. He's probably like your fourth or fifth defenseman, depending on, your depth. I think that him and Tanev were such a gorgeous, gorgeous pairing in years past. And I wish that we got to see more of that, because that was so incredible. And it was really great to watch Kylington take that next step in his game that season when they did play together. And he played well in his return. All things considered, yeah, he had 8 points in 33 games, but he, number one, is not like an offensive defenseman. He's not like a Roman Yossi or a Cale Makar. Like, that's just not who he is. But for him to score a goal early on in his return, pretty special and pretty exciting. Everything kind of pointed to both teams or both parties wanting to consider an extension. Obviously, things change. It's, again, this is the same media team beat that reported Noah Hanfin's extension is days away, just days away. It's happening. It's looking like it's happening. And then he got traded. So you kind of have to take everything with a grain of salt in terms of the timeline. But I'm interested to see what comes next for Oliver Kylington, because, he could sign an extension with the Flames, or he could go sign elsewhere. And we're going to talk more about that next. But before we do that, we are going to take a quick little break. Game Time makes getting NBA Finals tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it is to tip-off. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, view from your seat, and lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets. If you aren't into attending basketball games, or your team's not in the finals, why don't you check out some baseball? They have great deals on baseball tickets, as well as concerts and comedy shows, theater, you name it. Game Time has it. Last minute deals. You can save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. Taylor Swift is coming to Vancouver in, I think it's October or November. So buy yourself some tickets. There's got to be some fun concerts coming up this summer. Who doesn't love going on a little vacation? Maybe you're headed east to Toronto, catch a Blue Jays game. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off of your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Thanks, everyone, for hanging out with me today on Locked On Flames. Make sure you're subscribed so you never miss a show. What is something I'm not very good at, I will say, is packaging trades, right? Because it goes to show you, you could severely undervalue or overvalue a player. Thankfully, we aren't doing that. Predicting contracts is something I'm a little more comfortable with. And I think that's because, no one's going to yell at you. I mean, if I just said they should pay Oliver Kylington $13 million, then yes, that would be unreasonable. However, be a little bit more reasonable when it comes to ballpark figures. Oliver Kylington is 27 years old. He will be a UFA come July 1st, which is almost 32 days away. He is making $2.5 million right now. Okay? Not bad. That, to me, that is a very reasonable price. That's not something that you are kind of, you're not stressing about that. If it's Mackenzie Weegar's 6.8, or 625, whatever it is, yeah, then probably a little more heavily focused on that. But thankfully, it's not. And one of the things here that you have to take into consideration is the Flames having around $20 million in cap space. Okay, cool. You look at that. There's 3 UFAs, Dennis Gilbert, AJ Greer, and Oliver Kylington. I think we all know who the priority here is. And his age, right? He's 27. He's old. He's older. So locking him up long term, not a wise idea, right? It gives him, let's say it's a 2 to 3 year deal. I think that is a fair, reasonable contract. Of course, you have the rest of your 30s to play. And I think that it's also just kind of like testing the waters again. Can he play a full season? Will he be able to do it twice in a row? And it's not like saying he's a liability, because I think that that's such like a disrespectful way to put it. But you have to take those possibilities into account when you're constructing your roster. And I really like the idea of a 2 to 3 year deal around 2.5 to 275, maybe $3 million. I don't think it's fair to like not give him a raise. How frustrating is it for you when you get your yearly performance and you just get like a nickel raise for hourly wage? Now imagine not getting that at all. I think with Kylington, he still has gas in the tank. He's only 27. It's not like he's Chris Tanev and 34, 35 years old, and you are wondering how much left he has to give. Granted, I think Chris Tanev would probably just die on the ice, leave it all out on the ice, quite literally. He's one heck of a player, but we're not looking at that right now. Oliver Kylington is a different type of player, and there's nothing wrong with that. And that's what makes this unique. This situation, even if the leave of absence hadn't happened, I still don't think you are giving him more than a 3-year deal. Again, 27 years old. That's a long time. Your team is not going to be a Stanley Cup caliber team. And why tie your money up in another aging, quote unquote, player? It feels very weird to call a 27-year-old older, and aging. As a 28-year-old, I will say, it does sound a little weird, but I'm fine with a short term. It's not a bridge deal, because it's, he'll be a UFA. You're not bridging the gap from like this last deal from RFA status to UFA status. I think it's attractive. I would say it's attractive to both parties, because, it gives you a chance to see what your team is made of. And you have to look at the bigger picture. I don't think it would be smart to lose another piece of your defense, especially someone that can actually defend the puck. I don't know. I'm like still like have nightly flashbacks to that post trade deadline defense. If like, I don't even think you could call it that, because there was no defense. It's a good environment for him, and he knows he's supported. The Flames know exactly what's going on, so there's no need for having to rehash anything or having to worry about how teams will handle anything that may arise and pop up along the way. I think that it's fair. I do. I think a 2 to 3 year deal is perfect. You are still retooling, and you will probably, hopefully, be closer to the end of your reconstruction era, if you will, at that point. Because I talk about this a lot. Whether you're using the term rebuild or retool, like, they have the essentially the same meaning. However you want to look at it, whatever you want to define this as, to me, this was roster reconstruction one way or another. But you still need defense. You would love to have a bunch of Mackenzie Leaguers, but you also get, obviously, Oliver Kylington does a great job killing penalties. He was so special on that 21-22 team. That truly was like special teams, it was special teams for a special team. Like, it was great. And a special player. Like, Oliver Kylington was just so fun to watch, like, burst onto the scene and, like, take that next step in his game. He'd finally made the roster out of camp and, like, took the steps he needed to. And I hope that we can see that again, because it's clear he still wants to play in the NHL. But how do y'all feel about, like, a 2-3 year deal at let's say $275 to maybe $3 million? I don't think that that's unreasonable. I don't. And coming up next, we're going to talk about when this may happen, because, again, we hear many conflicting stories around the media, and eventually one will come true. Thanks, everyone, for hanging out with me today on Locked On Flames. You can follow me on Twitter at Jess Belmosto. I'm here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, your team every day. I think Oliver Kylington truly is a special player. I think that he is someone that's obviously gone through a lot. He's someone that is teachable. He's willing to adjust and learn and move on from, he'll find new ways to elevate his play, and I'll take that criticism and do it. I don't think he hits the market, and I'm not entirely sure he wants to explore his options. I think it's important that to him and everyone in his camp that they know what Calgary is capable of doing in terms of support, and it's not like stepping into a new situation where a team might say, like, yeah, we're supportive and, like, we'll do whatever we can to help you through this situation, but that doesn't mean that they're going to live up to it. I mean, how many times have you gone into, like, a car dealership and it's just over promising and under delivering? Like, that is unfortunately part of life. I think that the Flames organization is just more, like, equipped to handle this and to deal with his situation, because they've been, I don't want to say living it with him, but helping him along the way. And familiarity is a good thing. If you talk to any therapist, they're going to tell you, like, your first year of treatment or whatever you're going through, no big changes. No big changes in the first year, whether that's, like, moving, changing jobs, dating, signing a new contract with a different NHL team that you haven't known at all. But obviously, things might be a little different for professional athletes. I think it's important to remember that Oliver Kylington is a human being in all of this. He isn't just that player on the ice. He's not just number 58. He's not just number 58. He is someone that is capable of playing at the NHL level, should be playing at the NHL level consistently, and someone that deserves what he wants. And I think that, again, the familiarity of Calgary and the organization will be a driving factor in his return. I don't think that it very well could be a situation where they say, oh, we're going to test the market. And Calgary isn't going to shut the door on him. You know what I mean? I think that the Flames wouldn't do that in most situations, but especially this one. Like, he has every right to go out there and see what's available. But if he already has his mind made up, let's get this thing signed. I don't know what the holdup is. I can only imagine, like, time zones. Probably a big factor in all this. But I really do think Oliver Kylington returns this year. Maybe it really is just going to be a one-year deal. You could make an argument that the Flames could do that and evaluate it from there, because you haven't seen him play a full season of hockey in 2 seasons. And that is a bit of time. And obviously, when you're looking out for the player, you have to look out for the rest of the organization too. And I hope that an extension happens before July 1st, because I really don't want to get an Elliot Friedman notification saying Kylington to St. Louis, 2-year, $4 million or something like that. Like, I'm okay. I don't need to see that. I would love to see that, like, extension graphic that the Flames social media team makes. But in all seriousness, there's kind of like a miscommunication going on right now between two sources that really questionable, I guess. I mean, one should be more reliable than the other, but Eric Francis was reporting that the Flames and Oliver Kylington's camp were like basically at the finish line to get this contract extension signed. And that was probably like a week or two ago. And then earlier this week, the fourth period put out that there aren't any conversations happening, and there haven't been. I would think the person closer to the team, and that is quite literally employed by a cable network to, do his job and works directly with the team, I would think he would have a little bit more credibility to his stories. But again, we're talking about the same person that just ripped Johnny Gaudreau to shreds year after year, that basically pushed the Gaudreau narrative that he didn't want to be in Calgary, or he basically just try to run him out every trade deadline. Like, I don't know. And then he also said Noah Hanifin was going to sign an extension any day now. And yeah, he did with Vegas. Take it with a grain of salt. I think that there are a few people that you just need to turn your Twitter notifications on. Sorry, Elliot Friedman and Chris Johnson, maybe Pierre LeBrun, maybe Jeff Merrick. All depends on how much of the same news you want on your phone at the same time. But it's important to remember that, like, considering your sources during all of this. And my biggest hope for Kylington is that he gets what he wants and he is happy with his decision. And I want to see him back in a Flames jersey. I think that the Flames really need a player like him. I don't know how many times I can say it, but he's a good player that brings defense to this blue line that desperately needs defense. You have Rasmus Andersson, Mackenzie Weegar, and Oliver Kylington. These three, the gang's all here. The gang is all here. That is my blue line. Because I don't really have much faith in any other, situation, combination. I want to see the Flames defense get better. And I think that employing a guy like Oliver Kylington helps you get there. And even if it's just, a little Band-Aid for 2 seasons, and then maybe some of your prospects are ready to make the jump. Hunter Brustowicz at that point is ready. Maybe someone you draft this year. Like, there's still a lot of time and moving parts to this. And I think that Oliver Kylington should be a priority when it comes to re-signing or UFAs, because Dennis Gilbert and AJ Greer are going to be inexpensive, which is fine. I would like to see AJ Greer back because he does bring that level of physicality. I have no issue with Dennis Gilbert either. I just want to see better defense. And something tells me I'm going to be wanting that for a very long time. But coming up on tomorrow's show, I'm going to talk about our perfect off season. And no, that doesn't involve buying out and just cutting Huberdeau a check under the table and not having to deal with paying him anymore. We're going to talk real expectations and desires, myself, as well as y'all on X or Twitter, whatever you call it. But that will be up tomorrow. And I hope you have a great day. Stay safe, stay warm, stay cool, stay hydrated, put some chapstick on, some moisturizer, some sunscreen, and I will see you all tomorrow.